Hello everybody, welcome back to The Breakdown. I'm Tone and it is really great to have you back with me once again. Today is day 26 of the self-imposed lockdown that I started back in July. Originally against the mask mandate. I knew that it wouldn't have any impact to be spoken of to prevent going to a stage 4. We've then moved to a stage 4. I mean, no surprise to me. Once we move to a stage 4 here, it's no surprise to me that we're moving to a further set of lockdowns on the border there over towards South Australia. I've called it. It is what it is, not because I called it, but just because that's the direction that all of this was always moving in. It's potentially catching a few people out who weren't prepared for what I think should have been reasonably obvious. But aside from that, if you are from that area, I hope you're making preparations and getting yourself organised for what comes in on Friday. I know that it's going to have pretty drastic impacts for a lot of people that I know over there. But, I mean, there's been some pretty serious impacts on people here in Melbourne as well. But what I want to talk about today is a number of things. Now, you would have noticed that I haven't posted some videos. I haven't done any for about 3 days, and there wasn't really anything to talk about. I mean, we already knew everything about the mask wasn't working. We already knew that we were going to be moving towards a further set of lockdowns over at the border. But look, a number of things that we need to touch on, and I've been touching on these things for quite a while. I've been talking about it for pretty much since I started this series of videos, and that is that the mask was never going to be effective, and there's a reason for that, and it's got nothing to do with the fact that it, or whether it catches your spit or anything like that, but it's the correct use of the PPE gear that matters. I've already covered this, but tonight on or this afternoon and this evening on the news, they got a number of experts on there, and one particular expert was talking in regards to the what was it? The Ruby Princess. That's it. And then the lockdowns in Melbourne here, and how that was poorly handled, etc., etc. And some of what they were talking about though was the poor use or incorrect use of PPE gear, because there were people that were doing that job for the hotel quarantine and that here in Melbourne, that weren't trained to even be doing the job that they were being asked to do. They'd just been repurposed to that job, no training in PPE. And it highlights a point that I've made already. The mask was only going to be it was only going to have an impact on anything to do with this stuff as long as people were using it properly. And in this case, they're talking about it wasn't used properly for this hotel quarantine debacle. So if it wasn't being used properly there, who's to say that this mask mandate the masks were going to be used properly by anyone that was wearing them? We've already covered the fact that they were telling us, hey, just cover your face with a scarf even. Now they've backtracked on that and said, well, it's actually worse if you wear a scarf than if you don't wear one. So scarf, no mask, and then a mask in order of bad, just normal but not real good, and better. Although they were trying to push, this is good and it'll prevent any further. So for anyone out there that may have been going, oi, everybody, get your masks on. It's you're to blame. If you're not wearing the mask, you're to blame. Understand that the mask was just simply something to test us. I mean, they want to be seen to be doing a good thing, and the masks can do quite a great deal of good, I imagine, as long as they're used properly, but they haven't been being used properly. So now it's, yeah, useless, or next to useless. So that's interesting. And I just, I hope anyone out there that may have, I mean, you can be forgiven for thinking that way because you didn't know. But now that we do know this stuff about the mask and the reasons why they were using it and using it as an agenda push, now we can go, hey, okay, now we can see it for what it is. So I hope you can. I hope you can see it for what it is. The next thing I want to talk about, well, hang on. Actually, let's do these push-ups. I've been still doing them. Doing it against the South Australian government this time. I mean, while people over on the border have to comply with government and the laws that have been passed, again, it doesn't make it easy and it doesn't make it right. So these push-ups are against the government's decision in South Australia. And we're going to get to why with my next point. But for any of you who are in the border communities, I hope you're doing your utmost to prepare. I am aware of a number of people who were thinking along the same lines as I have been, who work and live in the area over there, who have been speaking about this stuff and saying, hey, supplies could become a bit tricky. And you probably just want to make sure that you've got yourself organised because we don't know what this is all going to look like. So you're better off preparing yourself the best that you can for what could be coming. So it's nice to know that it's not just me that's been talking about this. I imagine there's quite a few out there. I also imagine that they may have been labelled alarmists, or what they were saying might have been just palmed off. And no, look, we've already gone as far as we're going to go. Clearly not. But what I want to talk about, apparently, students, I think it's students, are allowed back into South Australia or Adelaide. And they've been out, but they're allowed back into South Australia, and the border is being closed to Victoria. And there's a number of people making a bit of noise, understandably so, towards the South Australian government in respects to this, because Adelaide has more cases than the border communities do. And the border communities are, pretty much as a whole, have steered clear of leaving that 40 kilometre zone. They've remained within that zone. They've done what they're supposed to do so that they can continue to operate across the border as they needed to do. And so the South Australian government has spoken about, hey, you know what, we'll let these people in, but we're going to close the border. Hard and fast, that's it. No permits, no ways around it, blah, blah, blah. And this, I think, ought to expose another point that I've been making for most of the time that I've been doing these videos. There's a huge political move being made here. People in the government want to be seen to be doing what they can to prevent this getting any worse. Now, if we look at the number of cases of actual COVID, and we look at how many people have died, as tragic as that is, and we compare that to numbers of people that would usually die from the flu, they've tried to push something in the news recently that we haven't had a flu season. We haven't had a lot of people passing away from the flu. But people have been going out and have been interacting, still doing the things that they would normally do, still touching stuff and everything like that, which is enough to pass the flu on to other people. A cold, a sneeze, those types of things, they're just as they are super contagious. If you're out and you've got it, it's not difficult to get it to another person. So it stands to reason that it would be something quite similar to the same type of contagion as COVID. Only COVID we're being told that it's far more dangerous, and it could well be. But we're getting all these cases of COVID, and we're being told that there's no cases of flu this year. We've avoided a flu season. I don't believe that for 1 second, just between you and me. So this is a huge political thing that's going on right now. We see what's going on over in New Zealand, where they've got, cases that you can count on just over your hands and your feet, like 20-something cases, and they've shut the whole country down. COVID. They want to be seen to be doing the right thing because, hey, they're not going to change the date for the election. And as I said a couple of days ago, there's an election going on. And there's one up in the Northern Territory as well. So anyone who thinks that this isn't political, I think you need to relook at everything. Because, as I've said, there are elements of wanting to control a sickness, but the overkill versus the number of people that have tragically passed away from what they're telling us is COVID could very well have been some other cause in some of these cases, as we've already discussed. But the fact that there's these extra controls being brought in, and this is the excuse for them, when we've never had controls like this put in place for anything else, a number of things of which have been far worse than this, it has to make us wonder, what is the full agenda here? But this business of people being allowed into the state, not being blocked from coming in, they're being told they can come in. Whether or not they're quarantining, that's not a point we're making here. Just being allowed in flat out. Full stop. That's the point. And here they are, they're going to put in a hard and fast block on anyone wanting to come in across the border from Victoria. Even the 40k zone. Political? Bet your bottom dollar. So, I again feel for the communities on the border. I again send my well wishes. But I also continue to encourage anyone who has not done so yet to organise all of the things that you can, that you are going to continue to need, so that you've got everything for your business, farms, anything that's impacted in that way. I know there's quite a number of farmers that will have land in both states. I really don't know how I would handle that situation if it was me. I mean, we've acted as a country for a long, long time now. But the fact that we've got these borders in place and we're seeing them enforced in this way, and we're seeing the different ways since the beginning of all of this that each state has handled this, I think it's enough to think about and really try and get a grasp on what's going on. Understand that there's a lot of control being imposed here. But what are you going to do about it? In the short time that you've got before lockdown and before everything goes into place, there's little use in fighting and making a big sound and a song and dance about all this stuff. You're better off doing what you can to prepare for what is imminent. Deal with each new step after that. And as I've said already, if you want to see the true see the true aspects of all of this, shut everything down as much as you possibly can. Stop spending money. Don't go out. It's going to be a difficult time of it for all of us, for sure. But it will expose the truth quicker than by just going along with everything that they're telling us and just accepting it and living our life as normal as we possibly can, even though we're heading for a new normal. They've been telling us for months now, a new COVID normal. They've been telling us that, hey, people are probably going to need to have a vaccine to be able to do stuff into the future. And another thing, the other day, which I didn't cover, and I probably could have covered in a separate video, but I'll just mention this. They told us on the television, in the media, they told us that it may not indeed be one injection, but quite a number of separate injections. So I think that is something worth thinking about also. We've not had controls like this for any other thing. And they're not just talking about rushing forward with a vaccine, they're talking about several. Just let that marinade for a little while and think about what that actually means. And the fact that, quite possibly, without that, you may not be able to go to work, may not be able to travel, may not be able to even travel between states, won't be able to go and visit old people in old people's homes. A lot of things are going to be restricted to you unless you accept to take these vaccines. Now, again, I will stipulate that I am not against vaccines. I am dubious about them, though. Rather dubious about the way that they're pushing this one. And that's the point. Just because something has been something for this long does not mean that at some point it can become something completely different. Remember, liars can tell you a truth, and people who usually tell you the truth, they are capable of telling you a lie. So just because we've trusted vaccines and we've trusted the government and everything like that in many respects, it doesn't mean that that's always going to be the case. And I'll put it to you, I don't believe that it's the case now, and I don't believe that it's going to ever really be the case again. We're moving into a direction that is unstoppable. That doesn't mean we have to get depressed, anxious about it, and live in fear. We have to be real about it. Okay? Be real about what's going on. And accept the things that you can't change, but be wise enough to prepare for the things that you can. So, on that note, the South Australian government is going to have a reckoning at some point, because there may be quite a number of Victorian businesses moving forward that may indeed stop doing business with South Australia quite so much. All because a large number of suppliers will have been restricted. There may also be quite a few people who don't do business closer to the border, and that will be interesting to see how all this plays out. But we'll leave it at that. Again, I'd like to reiterate something that I shared in an earlier video. There are a lot of people that are going to be doing it tough right now. We're not hearing the numbers of suicides. We're not hearing about the number of people that are succumbing to anxieties and depression, succumbing to the fear. And that is heartbreaking, because there's no reason to be in such a hard and fast lockdown unless there is the reason. And if there was a reason, we would have done it ages ago. And if there's something else at play here, then there's no reason to be in this lockdown, but it's being used for another purpose. And all of these angles that I'm bringing to you are well worth thinking about. On that note, please connect with anyone that you think would benefit from hearing from you. Please do everything that you can to take care of each other. Take care of yourself. Do some fitness for a cause. Or just do it because it's good to stay healthy. To everyone over there on the border, I'm thinking of you. I hope that you've done all that you can to prepare for this next step that is being taken, that's being forced upon you. Much the same as things have been forced upon us here in Melbourne. There's the next step over there. But I hope that you all can make the most of it in the best way that you can. Continue to be working together, connecting with each other as much as possible, taking care of each other. And look, we are going to get through this together, but not in the way that they're talking about on the television all this time. We will get through it together, but on our terms. Remember, it's our terms. We've got a lot of power at our disposal. Currently, not many people are using it. So figure out what that is, connect with enough people and get the message out there, and let's take our country back to some degree, because absolutely no doubt there's far more to this story than a virus. Thank you for being with me. I'll be back with you again tomorrow. If you like this video, please like. A subscribe to the channel would be great. Click the notification bell if you would like to know when I upload new videos. And until next time, or until tomorrow even, God bless, and bye for now.